Hey everyone. Okay, so this is going to be the second session for this new song. I've just been sitting on the song for a couple of days, just let it sort of ferment in my mind of what I want to do. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt tonight to get a clean run on the drums. That's the most important part, is because if you don't get the drums right, then the timing of everything else is dumb, and you can't really fix it later. So this is the annoying part, is actually trying to get a good clean take on the drums. I can try to punch in here and there, but I would rather actually have a complete single take. So we're going to see how it goes. Maybe a good attempt, maybe a bad one, but I may have to do again tomorrow. It all depends on what I feel like at the moment. So we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. All right, here we go. Okay, so I have a workable drum track. I cheated. I couldn't get through the whole thing with all the parts sounding the way that I wanted to. So I did do some punching in, and I did make sure that the edits were pretty good, but I think what I will do is I'll do a full run through of the song so you can actually see where I do the edits. And I'll be curious if you can actually hear them. So maybe watch it first without watching the edits, see if you can actually detect them or not. The software's pretty good, it works really well, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway. So what I have set up here is a zoomed in view of the various takes for specifically one set of the room mics. And the reason why I picked the room mics is that way you can see all the drums being played at once, not just the kick or the snare or the toms played individually, but you can see the composite of all of it. Now, as we scroll along here, I'm going to zoom out a bit here. Each one of these things here represents a different take. The top one being the current version, the current what's called composite, and these being all the previous takes. What you can see here is anything that is highlighted in blue is a section from a previous take that I selected and spliced in to make the composite. So the composite run isn't actually a single run that I did. It's actually an amalgam of a total of, I think, 14 different takes. Now, I know you don't see 14 rows here, and that's the reason being is that some of these takes were false starts. And I just deleted them after the fact because there were no regions or selections that I was using. Now, when you see these here, what this is me copying and pasting a certain section and placing it somewhere else. So for example, in this little edit here, I took the original fill that I had here and I pasted it over top of what I had recorded. And the reason being is that this one had a minor flub, and instead of re-recording it, I was able to just take a copy of this. And I have done that in a couple of spots to fix a couple of dirty little tom fills that had bad timing. So that's more or less the trickery. Now, the hope is that I did this seamlessly enough that to the ear, you won't hear these particular edits, and there shouldn't be anything terribly drastic. So one of the things you can do first is ignore the video portion and just listen to the song as it plays through, and then after the fact, take a look at where the edits occur and see if you can actually audibly detect where it jumps from one take to the other. Again, this is the advantage of modern DAW software, as well as playing to a click track. You really can't do this unless you perform the drums to a click track. Or it's extremely difficult to do, and I personally don't know how you would do it unless it was performed to a click track, and reasonably well to one. So we're going to see what it sounds like, and let's give it a shot. Okay, so last night I had a bit of inspiration. Middle of the night, I was watching some TV, and then I had an idea of what to do with some of the guitar parts. So unfortunately, I didn't actually film it, but I got some really good fuzzy, really Jesus and Mary Chainey sort of 60s fuzz distortion guitar tone that seemed to work out pretty well. Performance isn't perfect. I'm gonna do a few punch-ins, so I'm gonna film that, but you'll be able to now hear the song with more of the vision that I had in mind in terms of all the noise and whatnot. You can hear a little bit of it in the background, but we'll of course do the full run through with the guitar track and see how it's turning out. So far I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's sounding pretty rad, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, on to the next step. What I've chosen for the fuzzy guitar parts is I busted out the Wilshire, and this is the same type of guitar that Wayne Kramer used to use for the MC5, or at least one of the guitars that he used in the MC5, and obviously kind of the reason why I bought it. And it's actually really rad. Took me a while to get set up to play right, but it's pretty cool. It's got a couple of weird things about it, like if you hit the bottom E and the top E too hard, if the action's low, they pop out. That is one annoying feature, but it does sound really cool. And the vibrato bar is pretty good on it. And in terms of guitar tone, let's take a look at the bass of what I've got going on there. So first of all, I've got that Joyo Ultimate Drive, which is basically a clone of the OCD. So just a bit of overdrive on it. In addition, I'm using the Cockfight Buzz pedal. And I'm using the Alter Ego delay pedal in reverse mode, but with a short delay, so it just gives a little... So just a little extra flavor. And of course, to add the insanity, we've got the Merkin. And the Merkin just adds, we go from thick fuzz to absolute chaos. All right, so that's what I've been using for these tracks. So let's see what it sounds like. So as I mentioned earlier, I had a bit of inspiration the other night, but it was a little bit late and I didn't bother filming the footage of me taking that particular take. But that's the very first take. So we're right here. We're taking a look at guitar track number 1. And this is the first pass that I did down here. As you can see, the majority of the run, the original one that I did, and I hadn't practiced anything, I just played. The majority of it was good. Now these parts here that you see in gray were the parts that I had an idea, but since I hadn't rehearsed it, they were a little bit off. And then what you can see up here is me taking several takes to get these parts just right. So sometimes I was able to nail it in one extra take, but in other cases, as you can see here, I had to do it several times. What you're going to notice here is I actually did a slightly different arrangement, and that's why I have all these new ones, because I perfected it, and then I was like, nah, I didn't like the way it was arranged. So then I redid it, and then we got this. My main goal was not to overthink it, because as most of my musician friends would agree, the magic often actually occurs when you're kind of unprepared. Because when you're unprepared, your fingers kind of go in a spot that you wouldn't consciously know, and then that's when the sort of the good accidents happen. Also, you can get some pretty cool feel by being a little bit unsure. So one of the nice things about, again, having the ability to punch in is the advantage is that you can keep all the things that you probably couldn't reproduce if you tried it the second time because of all those accidents, but also correct the mistakes. We'll see how it goes, and we're going to do a run through. Absolute chaos.